I wanted to do an update on the Russian invasion of Ukraine and kind of just break down the most recent news in relation to it, as well as a little bit of the effect, the human toll of this war so far. So first, one of the big news items that came out was a nuclear power plant was bombarded by the Russian military as a part of this invasion, and it set up a situation where there could be a possible nuclear accident, which is obviously terribly scary. And the Ukrainian military or government was trying to get out iodine tablets to people in preparation for some sort of nuclear accident, which is very scary. It looks like UN kind of nuclear response team has gone in and is working on keeping that situation safe and keeping a nuclear accident from happening. But that's one of the breaking news things in relation to this invasion. And then recently, somewhat good news, I guess, is that Ukraine is in a place to start an offensive against the Russian military in the south of Ukraine. So that sets up a situation where if they're able to get a bunch of their forces together and prepare to take back over parts of southern Ukraine that Russia had previously taken over, it means they're not having to just be defensive, and they're able to, they're strong enough and in a good enough position to start trying to take back some of Ukraine, which is great. So we'll read about that. A long-awaited Ukrainian counteroffensive against Russian forces is underway in southern Ukraine to retake Moscow-controlled territory, the former president of Ukraine told CNN. This is the first time since February 2022 when such a concentration of Ukrainian troops with Western artillery, with Western high mobility artillery rocket system, and Western missiles was collected together for this counter attack. The counteroffensive comes as Russia's war in Ukraine has passed its 6-month mark, with U.S. assessments indicating that Russia has been able to deploy fewer units to the front lines than initially thought, according to a senior U.S. official. So that's kind of the one recent news item in relation to this war, or the second that I'll give for you today. And again, I think it's a good sign that Ukraine feels like it's in a place to go back and start taking parts of southern Ukraine back into their hands that Russia had previously won over. And hopefully they'll be able to do that with all of Ukraine, of course. So then the other part that is so important when these types of conflicts, I mean, it's not super common, but a massive war like this, is not to forget the human toll that is taking place and the real effects, because we can start thinking of it in kind of military analysis. Oh, this has been taken over and this is going there, like a video game or a movie. And while those things are important to understand what is the military reality and what is the situation on the ground within the war context and within who might be able to come out having taken over, either protected or taken over this part of Ukraine or the entire Ukraine, it's also so important to remember it isn't a game. It isn't a movie. This is real lives that we're talking about. And so there was a good breakdown by CNN. 6 months into the war, here's kind of the effect on the people of Ukraine. So between February 24th and August 16th, 11 million people crossed the border out of Ukraine. So they had to evacuate their home. And then between February 24th and July 23rd, 2022, 6.6 million Ukrainians were displaced from their homes, but haven't left the country. So they're having to be displaced from their home. But just think about from your perspective how off-putting and scary that would be. And then here's where it just gets so heartbreaking. Between February 24th and August 22nd, 2022, an estimated 5,587 Ukrainian civilians were killed, and 7,890 were injured. So just mass devastation on the part of Ukrainian civilians. Between February 24th and May 10th, 2022, 200 healthcare facilities were attacked. And then finally, between February 24th and June 11th, 2022, 4.8 million Ukrainian jobs were lost. So in the most tragic sense, thousands of Ukrainian civilians, not to mention all of the military members who have been killed, devastating. And then you think about millions upon millions of people having to move out of Ukraine, having to be displaced from their homes, and then of course tons of jobs being lost and people's way of life just being completely thrown into the air. It's really heartbreaking. So that's kind of where it stands as of now, the devastation as well as the military related news, looking like Ukraine is able to be in a position of strength to start trying to take back some of southern Ukraine, which is good news to me within the context of just really bad news.